Those of you that have joined us recently, the Crew-3 crew has splashed down off the coast of Tampa, Florida. Our recovery vessel Shannon has picked them up out of the water, and we can see there the teams are preparing to assist the crew as they exit or egress the capsule.
And that splashdown coming right on time at 9:43 p.m. Pacific, 12:43 a.m. Eastern Time, off the coast of Tampa, Florida, in the Gulf of Mexico. The journey home is not quite over for these astronauts. Even though they are back on Earth, they will be helped out of the Crew Dragon vehicle. They will have some routine medical checks done before they are loaded onto a helicopter.
Dragon SpaceX, can you confirm that the audio is improved?
SpaceX Endurance? Yes, that's much better, thanks.
Sure thing, sorry for the delay.
Sounds like that was the voice of mission specialist Kayla Barron. We can see that the slide has been put in place. This helps the astronauts gently make their exit from the capsule. Once again, the Crew-3 crew has splashed down after spending a total of 177 days in space, 175 of those days on the International Space Station.
They saw quite a lot during their stay on the space station, including the arrival of 8 visiting vehicles. That includes the Axiom 1 crew just a couple of weeks ago, as well as the Crew-4 crew just last week. And the crew today consisting of European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer and NASA astronauts Raja Chari, Tom Marshburn, and Kayla Barron. Chari and Barron were part of the same astronaut selection class, so they've done everything from training together all the way through their first space flight together.
That's really cool. They were the turtles, right?
They were the turtles, and we saw a turtle as their zero gravity indicator on the flight up. There are a couple more turtles on board now, with Bob Hines and Jessica Watkins, all being from the same class as well. It looks like Raja is being helped out of his seat.
I could imagine that after spending 6 months in space, all of this must feel really weird. We heard him make a joke earlier about the water bottle feeling heavy. We can see that Commander Raja Chari has now egressed the capsule and is making his way onto the rollaway. Looked like we had some thumbs up there just momentarily.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Raja looks to be in good spirits after 6 months in space on his first space flight. And of course, this is just a precaution after spending 6 months in space. Being on a ship as well, whenever you return, it helps to have a seat and maybe be helped to those medical bays. And that's very similar, like I mentioned, to a Soyuz landing where crew members are carried to the seats and then carried to the medical tent. So this just makes it a little easier for our crew members who are just experiencing gravity for the first time in 6 months. Of course, they do work out about 2 hours a day on the space station to help maintain muscle mass and bone density. But when they are regaining this equilibrium, every little bit helps.
Absolutely. They went through a dynamic event of, re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. As we said before, they experience about 3 to 5 Gs. And then splashing down, they're bobbing in the ocean, and now they're on a ship. I can imagine that their inner ear is, it's a challenge to readjust to, the spin of the Earth.
And I believe that's Tom Marshburn, NASA astronaut, being helped out of the capsule. That means our 2 mission specialists, Matthias Maurer and Kayla Barron, are still inside, and there's Marshburn.
Also looks to be in great spirits. You might hear some background noise here behind Leah and I. We're at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Second shift production is well underway.
The work never stops.
Yeah, despite splashdown, we're still a live operations environment, so you might hear some production noise in the background. We are in a rocket factory.
And we're coming up on about an hour since splashdown. That happened at 9:43 p.m. Pacific time. We have 2 crew members now out of Crew Dragon Endurance, breathing their first breaths of air on Earth for the first time in 6 months. And you see them being loaded and being assisted to the medical bays for those routine checks. They also were able to speak with a flight surgeon upon splashdown to make sure that they were feeling okay. And then after their checks, they will be transported to the helicopter on the helipad that's waiting to take them to shore, where they will part ways. We will have our NASA astronauts, Kayla Barron, Raja Chari, and Tom Marshburn coming back to Houston. Meanwhile, Matthias Maurer will board an ESA, European Space Agency plane, and take him back to his home.
We mentioned before that when the side hatch was opened, it's the first time that hatch was opened since the launch of Crew-3 back in November of 2021. So it's, we utilize the forward hatch to dock and undock with the International Space Station, but that side hatch, upon opening, is really the first breath of fresh air for the astronauts since launch. Although it is Florida, and as I mentioned, I just returned from Cape Canaveral myself a couple days ago, and it always astounds me that almost no matter what time of year, there's always humidity in the Florida air. So I can imagine that even when they do open the hatch, it's like, yes, fresh air, but it's also humidity, whereas the interior of Dragon capsule, is air conditioned. So I can imagine, well, it's nice to have new air. It might not necessarily have a fresh feel to it because of that humidity.
I'm sure for our NASA astronauts who live in Houston, it probably feels a lot like home. And again, everything has moved pretty smoothly tonight with the return of Crew Dragon. We even had views from prior to drogue parachute deployment from the WB-57 thermal camera that allowed us to see not only drogue deployment, but also deployment of 4 main parachutes successfully, which allowed the capsule to splash down gently at around 15 miles per hour off the coast of Tampa, Florida.
So right now, team members are working with mission specialist Kayla Barron to assist her out of Dragon Endurance.
That is mission specialist Kayla Barron receiving some help as she makes her way outside.
All right, looks like Kayla Barron has made her way down Dragon's accessibility slide and is going to be making her way to the medical tents. I think I see a smile on her face.
We have one more crew member inside Crew Dragon. That's European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer, one of the mission specialists. And that'll be our last crew member to exit Crew Dragon Endurance. All four will now be receiving those routine medical checks inside the bays on recovery vessel Shannon before being escorted to the helicopter that will take them back to land. Their first steps on dry land in 6 months.
Once the recovery vessel and the Dragon capsule get back to the port, the recovery team will perform additional inspections on the capsule before loading Dragon onto a flatbed truck at the SpaceX facility in Cape Canaveral for post-processing.
We definitely saw big thumbs up from Matthias Maurer on coming back from his first space flight. And now that Raja, Tom, Kayla, and Matthias are safely back home on Earth and getting checked out by the NASA medical team, we're going to wrap up our live coverage of their historic return. I do want to mention that the media telecon is now being moved up to start at approximately 2 a.m. Eastern time, so make sure to tune into that.